everybody. And whoops, technical difficulty to start. There we go. All right. All right, welcome to this session of Digital Network Week. Let me see, I'm here with my colleagues, Nick and Victoria. Nick, can you indicate that you can hear me?
Hello, yes, I can hear you, thank you.
Okay, just checking, thanks, awesome. My name is Will Mitchell. I'm the CEO and co-founder at VETRO FiberMap. And we're here today with a product demonstration under the umbrella title of Internet Infrastructure Intelligence. I'm going to kind of unpack what that means to us and then get into product demo after a short presentation. Here's a second title slide because we had some cool artwork we wanted to kind of impart here. It's sort of thinking about infrastructure as a puzzle and the intelligence of leveraging that infrastructure. And here we go. Background here on VETRO Inc., the company. Who we are is a software company. We deliver internet infrastructure intelligence through a unique network asset management software platform, mapping platform specifically. And the business goes back a ways to 2008 when we first started at building GIS applications, specifically web mapping applications for clients, many in the telecom space, some small ISPs, all the way up to large tier 1 wireless providers, led us into a discovery process where we found that there was a need to build a more modern and agile fiber management mapping solution. So we launched VETRO FiberMap in 2016. Hard to believe, that was 5 years ago now, but we've been growing strong. And as you can see on the screen here, we've got customers all over the country and all over the world in 25 countries now. And our mission is to deliver the world's best map-based SaaS platform to plan, design, build, and operate the internet infrastructure, enabling a connected and sustainable world. Let me take you back a little ways. My own journey into this role starts with a GIS degree back in a graduate degree in mapping and GIS technology. And fast forward here to what we're here to talk about today, wireline telecom mapping. It's certainly nothing new, but it can be done in new ways. So when you start with a foundation of, let's say, CAD, as you can see in the drawing on the left, or even in the bottom right, you see a paper gratuitously crinkled for effect in this presentation. But in any event, these are drawings and they're schematics of the network. They indicate, where your assets are, where the cables run, and so forth. But they don't have a database behind them. They're not intelligent, so to speak. They're one-dimensional in a way. You move on to desktop GIS, and this is where I spent my days learning and growing into the mapping profession. Desktop GIS is actually extremely powerful. It's a horizontal technology applied to any industry, many industries, and then your map gets tied to a database. Critical. Google Earth is somewhere in the Netherlands in between. When it came around in the 15 years ago, and then in the last decade, it's picked up a lot of adoption. It's very easy to use. It's free. You can sketch out a network on there, do some light design work. It doesn't have a database behind it, so it's a little bit stranded. And in any event, these are all the origins of mapping that have fed into what we can deliver today. And the context here is fiber management. So taking the map beyond just lines and points and where they are in the world and getting inside them. Fiber management takes you inside to the strand level and to the splicing, which is critical to understand connectivity and pathing, and so relationships. So you've got a network model captured in a fiber management system. There are a lot of fiber management solutions on the market. Again, we're newer, 5 years young, growing nicely. These are pictures from our solution, which we're going to demo today. and you can trace circuits. The concept we're trying to impart and leave you with too is this one of infrastructure intelligence. And it's kind of a term we came up with because we're trying to take that fiber management and that map to the next level. And what I mean by that is once you've digitized the physical layer, the outside plant, and you've structured the data for interrogation, for query, for publish, for analysis, you've got something new and different, and an intelligence platform that can be, it can become a machine in your business. An ask me anything machine is what we like to call it, because you can say, hey, do I have an available port near this house? Where can I go next? Am I jammed up with capacity? What happens if the line is broken here, and so forth? There's a lot of analysis and intelligence you can do. You can glean and deliver. And by going with APIs, by going with the platform and turning this data, exposing this data through APIs, you can programmatically leverage the information and the data in ways that you couldn't before in a machine-to-machine integration context. The little word swagger on the bottom left here is one of my new favorites. It's if you're a developer, there's something called a swagger file that kind of articulates an API bench offering, and we've got one of those for developers to leverage. The other thing about business, internet infrastructure intelligence is we're sort of trying to equate it now to business intelligence. You know, getting information and intelligence out of that data, that network data in this case, allows you to leverage software and services to transform the data into insight. And we apply that business intelligence concept here when you just really think about reporting analytics, and most importantly, data visualization. The map itself is highly visual, but other forms of visualization, reports, graphs, charts, tables, delivers actionable access. So what that means is digitizing and documenting the network is just the starting point in this context. And then you can expose and leverage that information. Exposing and leveraging that information in a platform via APIs allows us to look at the world this way. You've got your database of record, your outside plant assets, inventoried, mapped, documented well. And then the APIs allow you to draw these connections. Everyone in the Digital Network Week presenter panel, the technologies being presented are complementary and serving different portions of the network deployment lifecycle. So for example, auto design, you've heard or will hear from BRE networks. They can deliver large scale design automation, and that data can flow back and forth between a fiber management system of record, i.e. VETRO, via APIs. In 2 minutes, I'm going to hand over to my co-pilot Nick to do some light demo. Before I do, though, I just want to walk through a couple of business value props that we like to talk about. And the context is that the map is really important to the entire life cycle of a network project, and that starts with planning. Really at the early stages, you might be evaluating a market opportunity, evaluating grant funding, and so forth. And VETRO is tooled and designed in such a way to give you visibility and insight into the market data. How many homes are there to be serviced if I were to build over here? What might it cost? The design phase, critical. VETRO is a full design platform where engineers are laying out networks with high-level designs and making modifications and carrying them down into low-level designs and managing that design process end to end. Again, you can leverage partner tools to do design automation and then bring stuff in, or you can do original authoring of designs right in the VETRO platform with tools that are akin to a Google Earth level of simplicity. It allows you to collaborate because we're in the cloud. You can collaborate with partners, stakeholders, influencers, team members, and departments. Carrying forward here, we have tooling for the build operations, and you're seeing on the screen some desktop write out of poles with Street View. You've got some analysis here. You sort of can integrate, you can do operational things like troubleshooting, and into managing of the network. It's really important to emphasize that you've got an operational inventory, a dynamic inventory of splicing, strands, capacity, available paths, whether you're dealing with ducts and dark air or fiber and dark fiber, who's on what channel and so forth. So we've got a nice demo for you teed up here, and what I'm going to try to do is hand the controls over to Nick, and then I will continue to speak to the demo as Nick runs through it. You with me, Nick?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. So let's see here. What we're going to try to do is condense 60 minutes worth of content down to 10. So you ready, Nick? Had your coffee? Let's give it a start here with some analysis tools. So we're starting with a bit of a market level view, a landscape level view, a certain scale. And that could be an entire country, an entire state, a neighborhood. And what Nick is walking through here is what we call analysis with polygons. You're drawing an area. That polygon can be a predefined area of representing a census block if you're working with an art auction context, or it can be a neighborhood, it can be anything, it can be a town boundary. And having drawn that boundary, what you're seeing here is some summary stats on the upper left. There are, if I'm reading that right, 12 and a half miles of road center lines in that area. And there's an applied cost to build based on cost per mile. And so you're getting a cost there of, tell me what that says, Nick, 800,000.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can modify, you want to go ahead and modify that to take your mile, cost per mile. Let's take it down from 60,000 down to 40,000, depending on where you're building. And that's going to change the cost to build in that polygon. So this is super high level, what we call back of the napkin macro costing. You are also seeing the summarization of network features, if there are any there. In this case, I don't believe we have a network underneath, but you see the customer point summarized up above, the counts of businesses and the counts of homes and addresses in that area. Here we've switched now to an interrogation area on the map that contains some network features. So that orange area has got one central office, one cabinet. It's got 77 surface locations and so forth. So you can really analyze a blend of market and reference data and network data all in one fell swoop in a very flexible manner with micro geographic control and detail. So it's all about the map with VETRO, and you can modify these boundaries to fine tune the area that you're inspecting. And Nick, while we're here, and you've got a network on the screen, can you? We often talk to users who are evaluating path back to existing assets, back to the network. Maybe you're going to serve a potential customer, and you need to evaluate the path and the cost of a lateral build. So we've got some tools for that. You can simply click on the map and get a road route back to the nearest on-ramp onto your network. And there we see that has just happened, and we're getting a distance. And again, based on that cost per mile distance, you're getting a cost. And clearly this is a preliminary cost, not an engineering level, build level cost, but it does give you a directional cost. and it literally takes one click. So we have call center, customer service, and sales engineers using this type of tooling. And we don't have time today, but you can carry that forward into an actual plan and design for a lateral build and get a project level cost. You're also getting a picture of homes passed, so you can evaluate different routes back to the network and pick the optimal route to go. All right, Nick, in the interest of speed demo, let's move over to design. And I think it'd be nice to take a look at the digitizing in VETRO. So all you need to really do here is what I'll illustrate here is that we've got containers in the system. We have layers first on the top left. Those layers organize. Oops, for Nick's drawing, he's getting ahead of me. Perfect. Keep going, Nick. Digitizing is as easy as setting a target and picking a feature type. In this case, it's point, line, or polygon. We've really tried to distill this down to dead simple and keep it very fiber focused and constrained to what the fiber designer needs or network designer needs. So it looks and feels like a Google map or Google Earth, but there's a lot of sophistication under these lines and points and a lot of control. So Nick is drawing in a cable, we got a backbone, going to drop down a couple of points. And as he's doing this, you'll see snapping going on. We try to enforce spatial and map integrity, features aligning to one another. That becomes really important when we move on to connectivity. You're also seeing attribution on the left that can be filled out by the editor, as well as a tab called expenses. And we won't have time to get into this, but in addition to the geometry, the editor and the designer can lay out materials and get to a bill of materials and a project level cost and plan. Just to illustrate as well, the flexibility of the system, designs can be imported and exported. So maybe just take a quick look, Nick, at the managed data pop-up and our formats here. It's coming into focus. There we go. So many people have existing network mapping in one of those early formats I mentioned. And that can simply be imported from shapefiles, KMZ files, et cetera, and can be made to be programmatically ingested as well by our geo services team and or an API integration. You can also export what you've drawn in VETRO for sharing on a file basis. Let's see, Nick. Moving on here. Let's look at a BRE design. Since we're talking with adjacent tech and sort of partner solutions this whole week. If you can zoom to a plan, there you go. Here's an example of a design that was done in BRE Fond and then simply ported over into VETRO. And you know, those of you who are used to digitizing can imagine the time savings that represents. So just wanted to illustrate that real fast. Again, speed is of the essence here. Take a pop at Street View, if you wouldn't mind, Nick. You can zoom in somewhere. Maybe you're looking at poles, checking out what's underground or aerial for a given area. And if you have a chance, you can just drop the little peg man on the map. Here we go. Okay. I think we got it. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice pole. There we go. All right. So anyhow, all right. Turning the page, we're going to talk about connectivity for a moment. Let's take a look, Nick, at Fiber Manager circuits and the splice diagram in a bundle. So we can hop to some place where we have connectivity represented. Here's a small network. We can open up a point on the map and show the splice diagram. And with any luck, there you go. you're going to get an illustration of what's going on inside that node at the at this point in the network. We don't have time to explain all of this, but in edit mode, you can cut, you can drag and drop, splice, and it's important to note that the system is capturing the physical status of what is and isn't connected and how. It's also capturing the operational and use status. So you're seeing coloration differences based on things that might be reserved or in use. You're seeing T's where things are ring cut or spliced else to other cables at that same intersection. And you're also seeing over on the right, you can select any given strand in the splice diagram and follow what we call the strand inspector to trace up and downstream right through the splice diagram. There you go. Thank you, Nick. So I don't want to shortchange this. There's also equipment in here. You can insert splitters and other things. I don't know if we have any at that point, but anyhow, just making sure that I mention it. And in our short time here, Nick, let's take a look at Fiber Manager. Oh, there you go. There's a splitter represented, embedded in one of the nodes. Fiber Manager is a really crucial tool in VETRO, and it allows the user to select any A and any Z points on the network and get a visual representation and a data presentation of available connections or paths that connect those 2 points. And you're seeing next screen here, we've got an A and a Z dropped on the map, and you're seeing a highlighted route. If you, oh, I'm sorry, we've got, what do we got here, Nick? We got a circuit?
We do. We have a circuit as well as open and reserved fiber paths.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yep, we're seeing all available fibers that are connected all the way from A to Z in the lower tray. And over on the left, we're actually seeing a defined circuit with all of the network nodes that are passed through. You can from here, you can migrate that Z point around. The A is set on a serving location, a POP or a central office in this case. But you can inspect from anywhere to anywhere. And if Nick moves that Z point maybe to a new location, you're just, if there is no connectivity, perhaps to the neighborhood to the north, you'll see the path get truncated until you implement splicing and a path becomes available. So you can really get into the details of managing available paths and inspecting those paths. And now in an active mode over on the left, if you click on any of those nodes, there's an FAT, you get into the splicing at that node. So this can be a circular exercise and really get you inside the connectivity. That's awesome, Nick. Thank you. We're short on time. We've got, do we have time for reports? You got a splice report, a circuit report. At any of these locations, you can export reports and share them out with the appropriate team members. Let's see if we can get one splice report. The key, as Nick tries to pull one up, is to note that this is data-driven, database-driven. So your inventory is dynamic. Splicing and changes are being made every day. And to have this in a Visio diagram or an Excel spreadsheet is very much a dead end and not scalable. So having it in a managed database, being able to query and export and report out of that is the magic here. There's a circuit report on the screen here. There's lots of other reporting that you can extract out of the system. Down to the wire, Nick. Let's see. We got maybe a quick connect, and that may take some setup. You tell me how fast you can go with quick connect.
We just simply, Quick Connect allows you to utilize your reserve paths to create circuits just by clicking on a home.
All right. Oh, I just got a notice that we may have a little bit longer than I thought. I was operating with a 30-minute clock. It looks like we have 40. All right, very good. So quick connect. This is a very interesting use case for fiber to the home deployments where circuits are designed and reserved to a node in a field, to a multi-port that might then later serve 4 homes or 8 homes near that piece of equipment. Quick Connects allows a workflow to happen where you simply select an address or a location, and the system tells you, traces you back to the nearest available port, and then continues on to allow you to select the path back all the way to the serving office, join the two, and create a circuit. So it's a really interesting and seamless way to do drop deployment and provisioning, and can also be tied and bound to provisioning systems, OSS type systems, to feed circuit information from the map back into the customer record where relevant. All right. So we've got a couple more minutes that I wasn't sure about. So let's try the analytics portal, Nick, if you don't mind, just at a glance, again, the 30-second version, but we talked a little bit about business intelligence. We have some light deployment of network analysis, in a analytics portal context. Let's see if we can flip that on the screen. And there we go. So without getting too deep into this, you can simply see the delineation of, in this case, network type, fiber cable types in a hierarchy, or let's try maybe phase. You've got the ability to see things across a phasing, and then maybe by aerial versus underground. And this is a demo instance with lots of sample data, but you can see what we're getting at here. There's a way to delineate and display some interesting overview level information, drawing real time on data from your asset management system. And Nick, since we do have a moment, can you give us a Z Manager kind of flavor? We've blended in demand aggregation in a certain way, and we have zones in the map that we can take a look at in a sample area. Before you go here, Nick, you mind showing us the zones real quick? My apologies for jumping us around, but in the VETRO map, it's important to note that these are tied together and bound together. So if you toggle on these zones by status, here you go. So your engineering team may be delineating areas that are to be built, or that have been built, or that are planned in the future, or under consideration. Those zones are fully managed within the VETRO map, right in context with your network. And as you can see here, they're editable. Statuses can be set or changed. So let's go from under construction here to maybe built, or we're going backwards. We'll go forward to built. And then this zone, these polygons, as managed by the engineers, inform the public portal. So if we flip now back to where we were just taking a look, we have a template that can be branded for an ISP to do survey or order taking, and really serviceability check presented to the customers out in the world at large. We're checking an address here, and we're doing some confirmation to ensure we have clean data coming in, standardized at validated addresses. And that address is going to check itself spatially against those polygons, those zones, based on the status of the zone. The one that we landed in says services available. That's what you're seeing on the left. And the user can proceed to enter some information about themselves. This is stuff that the network owner operator sets up, including things like plans you might want to select and customer records information. Now, if we go back to VETRO, FiberMap, you'll see that we don't really focus on managing customer information. This is a conduit to collect it and associate it with the network information. So we focus on the service location. Everything hinges around the service location. And if a user comes in and says, I need service, we're associating that with the service location on the map that can be tied back to the network documentation, with information about whether that location is connected, whether there's a drop there, et cetera. We also have an integration bench that can push that customer record out to a CRM tool or an OSS tool or a combination thereof, and establish linkage and syncage between VETRO, the engineering map, and the other operational systems that a network owner operator or an ISP leverages. So thank you, Nick. That represents our product tour. And I'm gonna go ahead and say we're at time for that. There's a lot more we could get into, and I encourage anyone who's interested to reach out and schedule a full-fledged deep dive demo. But let's see here. I'm gonna take the screen back. No, we'll stay with you, Nick. That's perfect. We got the Q&A. We are at Q&A time. And I'm gonna see if Victoria is on, if she has any questions that have come in that she might want to share.
Hi, everybody. Yes, thanks, Will. I appreciate it. I do have some questions. So the first one is, does the design import-export capability include just the spatial information or the entire job packet?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We've worked hard to build the ability to ingest everything, whatever is available from the engine producing that design. And let me clarify. So the geometry is base level. That, of course, has to come in, the cables and the network nodes. The next level is connectivity. That's more challenging, but we've tackled that with multiple sources, so we can import splicing. Another level is equipment. Our model has sort of parent-child relationships between a network node and equipment that might live inside that, something inside a manhole or a handhole, for example, or a cabinet. So we can nest equipment into the map features, which creates the proper, true picture of connectivity through ports and splitters and such. So the answer is we can import everything.
Okay, great. Thanks, Will. Appreciate that. So the next question that we received is, any out-of-the-box integrations with common utility platforms for electricity, sewer, and water?
Let's see. Yes and no. So we focus on telecom network modeling and management, but we also have the ability to stream in map services. And what I mean by that is if you've got, for example, a utility network, an electric utility network managed in an Esri system, and that the layers of the data that make that network up can be published or are published through Esri map services, those can seamlessly be displayed in VETRO. And we've taken that further to actual editing, round tripping in certain select circumstances. But we're not managing the water and sewer networks. So we know that area well. My co-founder, Sean Myers, spent a long time implementing water and sewer GIS systems, and we've actually been out in the field collecting features with GPS for those types of things back prior to VETRO. So we don't model those systems. We can reference the mapping that lives in those systems, if that, hopefully that answers the question.
Great, thanks again, Will. The next question that we have is, could VETRO also be adapted for an HFC network?
I would say that's kind of the same answer, although it's within telecom. We don't have coax modeling or HFC modeling prioritized as a modeling capability. However, let me give an example. We have a lot of customers who do hybrid fiber and wireless, and we can model, and we do model circuit paths that include wireless hops and fixed wireless links. HFC is a little different, but if you simply treat the last segment as a hypothetical link, like a wireless link or even a fiber link, it can be represented cleanly. Again, there's some nuances to the modeling, distance and otherwise, that we're not capturing in VETRO because of our fiber focus.
Okay, great. And then on the modeling front, the next question that I have is, does VETRO have a feature or function to add duct banks?
Oh yeah, we like ducts. We like duct banks. In fact, we're full of splice puns over here, just to keep it lighthearted, and we're moving into duct puns next. But we have tooling present day to lay out ducts and to capture fiber insertion into duct channels. So if you're using microducts with multiple channels, we can record and map and inventory those channels and which ones are used and not used in a whole or partial basis. So there's some sophistication there. And also very excited to report that we're on the verge of the ability to manage duct connectivity and hierarchy at a more sophisticated level, where right now you can represent all these things now, but we're just making it better. So we're talking, imagine a trench, and then a duct bank, and then a duct, and then a channel, and then a fiber, and then a strand. This whole nesting hierarchy of modeled asset information can all be stored and managed in VETRO.
Okay, great. You conducted a very great answer there.
Nice one. Well
the
done.
best I could come up with on short notice. Okay. So, I figured we had to prove that our love of duct puns. So the next question that I have is, what is the map coverage like for countries outside of the US?
Good one. Good question. We've standardized on a Google Maps base map tile service delivery. So whatever you're seeing in Google Maps is available globally. We also offer OpenStreetMap because that is for some in some locations in the world and in some scenarios where kind of user-driven edits and inputs can be captured more real time. That flows into OpenStreetMap. It's a great project. That's another option and another source. We're going to be able to deliver Mapbox based maps. And then there are other specialty cases, like in the UK, Ordnance Survey mapping is another base map source that we have put in play for UK customers. And then we can even do custom base maps if there's a regional or a country or a local source of aerial imagery. We spin up a map service for you using that source material. So very flexible.
Great. And I have just two more questions. So it sounds like we've got time for that. So the first one is, how does your software compare to other GIS systems like Esri for things like feasibility assessment? I would start by saying that it's Esri is
is a desktop GIS solution. They have, well, they have every type of GIS solution deployment, you know, including server and mobile and browser. However, it's a horizontal technology, and ours is a more vertically applied version of something very similar. So we call ourselves a GIS. We've built our own engine and deployed a fiber-specific GIS and mapping solution. So VETRO can do the same things you can do in Esri. It can also live in a complementary fashion where if you've got sophisticated desktop GIS work being done in Esri, you can import the results into VETRO and continue on. But for feasibility study and planning, we're working with a lot of local community broadband groups who are at that early stage of or early phase of a project. And they're leveraging VETRO right out of the gate for some of that high-level costing and analysis, for collaboration and publishing and communication, and for getting light business case generated from the mapping.
Great. And last question that I have is, how long does it usually take to train a team on this software?
One of the things that I hope was noticed maybe in the demo section was the interface and the sort of speed and ease with which Nick was able to kind of cruise through some complicated things. My partner Sean and I, we both have deep GIS training, and we've used CAD and we've used every GIS tool you can think of. And they're really hard and they're really complicated and they do take time. I used to deliver GIS training. Sometimes it was a week long. VETRO doesn't take that type of training. It's meant to democratize the ability to digitize your network information and to access it. And what I mean is, or I could sum that up, I think, by saying that most of our customers start with up to a 10-hour block of training offered, and they typically only need 1 or 2 of those hours. You know, we might come back and go deeper in a particular topic or do refresher work or train new users, but literally most users who are at least even a little bit familiar with network mapping or GIS or even Google Earth are up and running in a couple hours.
Will, as we're
Okay.
really close, maybe you can answer this in 1 minute, but there is one last question that just came in. We
Sure.
are selling strands of fiber to other telcos. Can we use VETRO as an inventory tool to help us in managing our fiber and to make offers faster?
Yeah, absolutely you can. That's an awesome question. We're anticipating so much more shared infrastructure demands, you know, coming up. And part of what this week is about is how to be efficient and effective in getting more done faster than ever. And that there's going to be a lot of leasing and interplay between asset owners, and VETRO is perfect for that. You can record who's leased what, who's riding on what strands. You can leverage partner assets seamlessly as part of your network design and deployment. And importantly, you can publish information. So you can build tooling to select features that are meant to be exposed for other parties to discover and lease, and use VETRO as the engine to publish that information and to record what happens with the assets. So we could go on for several hours about our vision for shared asset leasing and management. It's an area of focus and an area we hope to really shine in over the coming years as public-private partnerships meet internet infrastructure intelligence. That's a mouthful, but P3 meet I3. That's where we're headed. And I think we're at time. So I would like to say thank you. Nick, there's one more slide that gives contact information, I believe, if you can go forward real fast, flash that on screen. Thank you very much. That's how you can reach me or VETRO. And furthermore, one more slide. Please offer feedback on the session. If you can see that, there's a URL, a bit.ly there, and we welcome your feedback. We want to